So happy Sunday to everyone. If it's Sunday where you are, if it's not, it doesn't matter. In today's video, I want to really just rant and talk about studio stuff. If you've got a recording studio, no doubt you're going to completely understand what I'm talking about here. And it's something which maybe you think about yourself, a trap you fall into yourself. And yeah, maybe we can just have a little chat about it. But it's for me, the subject is gear addiction. So let's talk about that. So it's Martin from Meyer Street Records. I hope you're doing well. I hope that you're making good music as ever. If you're new to this channel, please hit the like button. Please subscribe. I really appreciate your support. So in today's video, I want to talk about something that's really been bugging me for some time. We all remember having a recording studio in its infancy, right? And the excitement of building a project studio, which you hopefully will end up having clients in, etc. When it happens, suddenly we're just overwhelmed, aren't we? It's just, wow, I can actually start recording people, not just myself. What I want to know is, when did the want for recording change from the recording side to I want more equipment? And was it a case that I was just marketed to so well and advertised to so well that suddenly I felt the equipment I had wasn't doing the job? I suppose another way to look at it would be that maybe the equipment got out of date, you know, and we got fed up of just using the same equipment. Clients wanted new gear, possibly. But when I think back to myself and my own experiences recording, no one ever complained about equipment. Maybe it was just something I personally wanted to just grow. You know, with seeing the invention of like Instagram and obviously social media, where you see other people's recording spaces and you think to yourself, you know what? I want that. I want that studio with that view, with those speakers, etc., without really wondering or even asking yourself, do I need it? Now, subconsciously, I've always said to myself, if it sounds good, then everyone's happy, then there's no problem, right? Maybe it's more of an addiction thing than what we realise. You know, maybe there is more to it than just the growth or having money and then buying it. Maybe it's a thing where when you run a recording studio or anything really that you kind of can build, whether it's an art studio or whatever, you suddenly just want to take a next step possibly and just keep buying in theory. And we don't really know why. One of my biggest conclusions has always been, well, you know, life's too short. We need to just, you know, enjoy the moment. Someone's going to buy that piece of equipment anyway. And so at the end of the day, let's just, you know, let's keep buying until the cows come home. As we know, the cows never do come home. Whether you can afford it or not, you'd be surprised if you went into your own recording studio now and you did a calculation of how much money you've spent. You might be completely shocked how it's accumulated and you have spent a lot of money. So what's the purpose of me talking about this? That's a good question. I think I've become more aware that personally I've wanted to buy more equipment for my recording space. No one's asked me to. And I certainly have got a lot of enjoyment buying new gear. I mean, this last year alone, you know, I've upgraded my monitoring system. I've bought extra microphones. I've built a patch bay, which obviously the cabling costs with that. I upgraded some software. I mean, the list goes on. Outboard mic pre's, you know, I got quite some nice ones. And I've enjoyed it. I've really enjoyed having the gear. But I'm wondering, was it the advertising that pulled me there? Or was it boredom? You know, was it a bit of everything? Maybe you can relate to that. So it'd be good to know what your thoughts of it all are, really. All I do know, there is a lot of advertising out there, right? And you kind of become aware of equipment very quickly. And a bit like fast fashion, which I'm not sure if you're aware of, it's in the fashion industry where they say every week there's a new trend. and there used to be a trend every season, and so every week there's a new trend. So perhaps that whole thing is coming into our industry as well with recording. I know the video industry has the same thing. There's always a new piece of kit. The most interesting part about all of that is that there's always an obsession for vintage and older analog equipment as well. And what does that say to us? That's not new equipment, that's going back. So that's equipment that isn't being made anymore, yet it's sought after, so it's more expensive because there's less of the pieces. And so that's a whole new walk down the road, isn't it, really, into Purchaseville. If you're aware of the whole movement of minimalism, which I have been, Netflix has made that very possible. The internet is amazing, and the two chaps that run the minimalist movement initially are very, very inspiring, and they make a good point about life minimalism as opposed to, a job, etc. And they do clearly state that, have things in your life that have value. And I suppose when I look around my recording space, I kind of feel that everything in here has a bit of a story, but it also has value, because I do use it. And the story pieces, like an older guitar, which I don't pick up as much, give me that sort of like the humbling where I've come from and memories playing it on stage, etc., recording certain tracks with it, So I suppose keeping the concept of minimalism within your recording studio might be a good way to approach it, and to, in a way, make yourself feel less like you've spent so much money needlessly. So that's my rant on buying equipment, gear addiction, whatever you feel the term is, boredom. I'd love to hear your view on the subject. Maybe we are just beings that are easily influenced to buy equipment, and maybe it is just a fact that we have access to too many massive recording spaces and people that have too much money to buy this stuff. I think my end point would be, because I don't want to go on, and if you're still with me, I really appreciate it, is that a lot of the, if you like, experienced or older engineers seem to be working more in the box these days. So that need for lots of gear around them seems to have dwindled over time. And maybe they've realised themselves that it's, you don't really need a lot of gear, for certain parts. Yes, if you might need it for recording, but on the mix stage, you could just be happy with what you've got in the box of plugins, and that suddenly would have quite an empty room, wouldn't it, for doing the actual mixing. But anyway, guys, thank you very much for listening to this. I hope it's given you a bit of food for thought. I literally have just woken up about half an hour ago. It was playing in my head, so I wanted to just convey what I was thinking about, and maybe it will give you something to think about as well, possibly. But whatever you do, keep making good music, because that is, at the end of the day, the thing we like to do. So until the next video, thank you, and I'll see you later. Bye for now.